around? What if I told you there's a way to not only regain control, but to turn every emotional challenge into an opportunity for growth? Imagine living your life with a calm, resilient mindset, no matter what happens around you. In today's video, we'll explore 10 powerful Stoic techniques that can help you transform your emotional intelligence, navigate stress, and build lasting mental resilience. These techniques are rooted in ancient wisdom, yet they're more relevant today than ever. Are you ready to take the first step toward mastering your emotions and living with greater peace? Let's dive into the timeless philosophy of Stoicism and unlock the secrets to emotional control and resilience. Stoic technique number 1. Control what you can. Dichotomy of control. The first, and perhaps one of the most foundational concepts of Stoic philosophy, is the dichotomy of control. The basic principle is straightforward. Life is full of things that we can control, and things that we cannot. The key to emotional peace, according to Stoicism, lies in recognizing the difference and focusing our energy only on what we can influence. The Stoics believed that understanding and accepting this distinction would lead us to emotional clarity, reducing unnecessary stress and frustration. Imagine this for a moment. You're running late for an important meeting. The traffic is unbearable. Your phone dies, and you feel your heart rate escalating. In that moment, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the situation, but if you apply the dichotomy of control, you recognize that the traffic and your phone's battery are out of your control. What you can control, however, is your response. You can choose to stay calm, adjust your expectations, and focus on making the best of the situation. The moment you let go of what you can't control, you free yourself from emotional turmoil. Now, this is easier said than done, especially when life throws curveballs our way. But this Stoic principle encourages us to spend our mental and emotional energy where it truly matters. By focusing only on our thoughts, actions, and attitudes, we can maintain a sense of peace even in the face of chaos. Practicing this in daily life can lead to a profound sense of inner calm and emotional resilience. It's not about eliminating all stress or hardship, but rather about managing our response to it. One of the most empowering aspects of this technique is that it gives us back the power over our own emotions. The less time we spend on things beyond our control, the more energy we have to regulate our reactions. Emotional intelligence thrives when we stop worrying about external circumstances and focus on how we choose to perceive them. This ability to navigate life's challenges without losing emotional equilibrium is at the heart of both Stoic wisdom and modern emotional resilience. As you begin to apply this technique in your life, you'll notice that the smallest shifts in perception can lead to significant changes in your emotional state. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by a situation, you'll feel empowered by the simple act of choosing your reaction. It's a skill that, like any other, takes time and practice. But every time you make the conscious choice to focus on what you can control, you take a step closer to mastering emotional control. As we've seen, the dichotomy of control doesn't just apply to big moments of crisis. It's a tool that can be used every day. Whether it's dealing with a minor setback, a difficult conversation, or even your own inner thoughts, recognizing what is and isn't within your power can transform your emotional life. This sense of clarity helps you make better decisions, strengthen your emotional intelligence, and most importantly, lead a life of greater peace. Now, after we've addressed how to manage what we can control, let's move to another Stoic technique that helps us deal with the challenges of life, changing our perspective. This next principle is all about shifting the way we view adversity, which can drastically improve how we handle emotion. We'll dive into cognitive reframing and how it allows us to turn obstacles into opportunities for growth. Stoic technique number 2, the power of perspective, cognitive reframing. In life, our emotions are often dictated by how we perceive the events around us. This is where Stoic philosophy introduces the powerful tool of cognitive reframing. Simply put, cognitive reframing involves changing the way we interpret a situation in order to alter its emotional impact. The Stoics were masters at this, and understanding how they used this technique can provide us with a profound ability to manage our emotional responses. Consider a situation where you've been passed over for a promotion at work. Naturally, you might feel rejected, disappointed, or even angry. But what if you shifted your perspective and saw this as an opportunity for growth? Perhaps it's a sign that you need to develop a new skill, or maybe it's a chance to reassess your current career goals. By reframing the situation, you take control of your emotional response and turn a negative event into a positive one. This shift in perspective doesn't deny the reality of the setback, but it empowers you to choose how you react to it. Cognitive reframing is a technique that enables us to take a step back and reassess the meaning we attach to our experiences. Instead of reacting impulsively to a situation, the Stoic approach is to pause and reframe. In doing so, we can turn frustration into motivation, sadness into learning, and anger into calm determination. This ability to reframe helps us maintain emotional stability, even in challenging circumstances. One key element of cognitive reframing is the recognition that our emotions are often the result of the stories we tell ourselves about an event. For instance, if you fail at something, you could tell yourself, "I'm a failure, I can't do anything right." Or you could choose to reframe it by saying, "I didn't succeed this time, but that doesn't define me. I can learn from this and try again." This simple shift in mindset can drastically change your emotional state, transforming a moment of defeat into a stepping stone for personal growth. To make reframing a habit, you can practice it daily. Whenever something negative happens, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, "How can I view this differently? What can I learn from this situation?" By doing this regularly, you start to rewire your brain to approach adversity with a mindset of growth and resilience. This practice not only helps in managing emotions, but also builds emotional intelligence over time, as you learn to interpret events through a lens of opportunity rather than defeat. Reframing, however, requires awareness and patience. It's easy to fall into the trap of reacting to life's challenges without taking the time to process them properly. But when you consciously choose to reframe, you give yourself the power to change how you feel. It's about training your mind to see the silver lining in every cloud, to find the lesson in every setback, and to always choose a constructive emotional response. Now that we've explored the power of perspective, let's turn to a Stoic technique that takes this concept even further: Amor Fati, or the love of fate. This principle encourages us not just to accept life's challenges, but to embrace them fully. By doing so, we can build a deeper emotional resilience. Let's delve into how this mindset can help transform our emotional responses. Stoic technique number 3, Amor Fati, love of fate. Amor Fati, or love of fate, is one of the most profound and transformative teachings in Stoicism. This Stoic principle invites us to not only accept life's challenges, but to love them, to embrace every moment of our existence, whether it's a moment of joy or a moment of hardship. The Stoics believed that by loving fate, we could cultivate a deeper sense of emotional resilience, which would help us navigate even the most difficult situations with a calm and steady mind. At first glance, the idea of loving challenges might seem counterintuitive. After all, why would anyone want to embrace difficulties, pain, or adversity? But Amor Fati teaches us that these very challenges are an essential part of life's journey. They shape us, test us, and ultimately help us grow. When we accept this fact, rather than fighting against it, we free ourselves from unnecessary emotional suffering. Instead of resisting or resenting hardships, we learn to embrace them as opportunities for personal development. Take, for example, the story of a person facing a major setback. Perhaps they lose their job or experience a relationship breakdown. Under normal circumstances, it would be easy to feel angry, bitter, or helpless. But with Amor Fati, the perspective shift. You would ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this experience help me become stronger? By embracing the situation, rather than rejecting it, you begin to view the challenge as a teacher, guiding you towards self-improvement and wisdom. This shift in mindset is incredibly powerful. Instead of viewing life as something to be endured, Amor Fati encourages us to see it as something to be cherished. The Stoics didn't just want us to endure pain or struggle. They wanted us to appreciate it, to find meaning in it, and to use it as a stepping stone for personal growth. This is where true emotional resilience lies, not in avoiding difficulties, but in learning to thrive despite them. Practicing Amor Fati can significantly reduce feelings of frustration, bitterness, or helplessness. When we stop fighting against life's challenges, we stop allowing those challenges to control our emotional state. Instead, we regain control by choosing how we respond. It's a mindset shift that allows us to embrace whatever comes our way, whether good or bad, with an open heart and a clear mind. This practice can be applied in small ways every day. When something goes wrong, instead of getting upset, ask yourself, how can I love this experience? It could be as simple as viewing a traffic jam as an opportunity to practice patience, or seeing a difficult conversation as a chance to improve your communication skills. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to see every moment, every event, as an integral part of your personal journey. As we've seen, Amor Fati is a deeply transformative Stoic principle that empowers us to embrace life's challenges with grace and resilience. But how do we prepare ourselves emotionally for the unexpected? One powerful way is through the practice of negative visualization. Let's explore how this technique can help us build emotional resilience by mentally preparing for adversity. Stoic technique number 4, negative visualization, Premeditatio Malorum. Negative visualization, or Premeditatio Malorum, is a Stoic practice that involves imagining the worst-case scenarios in order to prepare mentally and emotionally for potential hardships. While this may sound somewhat unsettling at first, the Stoics saw this as an essential tool for building emotional resilience. By vividly imagining the difficulties we might face, we become better equipped to handle them when they inevitably arise. The key insight here is that by anticipating challenges, we can reduce anxiety, minimize fear, and strengthen our ability to manage whatever comes our way. At its core, negative visualization is about confronting the worst before it happens. It's not about wallowing in pessimism or fear, but rather preparing ourselves for the inevitability of difficulty. The Stoics believed that by mentally rehearsing worst-case scenarios, we could lessen the emotional impact when life's inevitable setbacks occur. This mental preparation creates a buffer between us and potential suffering, allowing us to face adversity with greater calm and equanimity. For example, imagine you're about to deliver a big presentation at work. Instead of focusing solely on the positive outcomes, take a moment to consider what might go wrong. What if the technology fails? What if you forget key points? What if you get nervous and stumble over your words? By mentally preparing for these possibilities, you're not only easing the potential emotional blow, but also creating a sense of preparedness. You've already rehearsed how to respond, which makes it less likely you'll be overwhelmed in the moment. This technique works on a deeper psychological level as well. Often, the fear of the unknown or the anxiety of what might happen is more debilitating than the actual event itself. Negative visualization helps us face these fears head-on, reducing their power. Once we've imagined the worst and realized that we could handle it, the fear dissipates. Instead of being paralyzed by what might happen, we're empowered by the certainty that we can cope with whatever comes our way. By practicing negative visualization regularly, we also cultivate a deep sense of gratitude for what we currently have. We begin to appreciate the present moment more fully, knowing that it could always be worse. This gratitude helps us remain grounded, reducing the emotional volatility that often arises when we take our good fortune for granted. The more we embrace this practice, the more we can navigate life's ups and downs with a calm mind and a steady heart. As we've seen, negative visualization is a powerful tool for emotional regulation, helping us manage anxiety, fear, and uncertainty. But to truly master our emotions, we must also cultivate self-awareness and a practice of reflection. This is where journaling and self-reflection come into play. Let's explore how these Stoic practices can deepen our emotional intelligence and foster long-term growth. Stoic technique number 5, self-reflection and journaling. Self-reflection and journaling are two of the most powerful tools in the Stoic arsenal for developing emotional intelligence and mastering one's emotions. The practice of journaling is not just about writing down daily events, but about engaging in a deeper dialogue with oneself, allowing for introspection and personal growth. For the Stoics, journaling was an essential tool for self-awareness and emotional regulation, providing a space to process their thoughts, evaluate their actions, and refine their responses to the world around them. Imagine starting your day by taking just a few minutes to write about your emotional state. How are you feeling today? What challenges do you anticipate? By beginning each day with this practice, you set the tone for emotional awareness and intentionality. Journaling allows you to explore your thoughts and emotions in a way that provides clarity. It gives you the space to step outside of yourself and view your reactions objectively, which is a key aspect of emotional intelligence. One of the most beneficial aspects of Stoic journaling is the opportunity it provides for self-reflection at the end of the day. In the evening, take a moment to reflect on your actions, reactions, and decisions throughout the day. Did you maintain your composure during a stressful meeting? How did you handle an emotional trigger? By reviewing your day, you can identify areas for improvement and make adjustments for the future. This practice aligns with the Stoic principle of continuous self-improvement, looking at your behavior not as something fixed, but as something that can always be refined. To make this practice more effective, the Stoics often recommended asking specific questions during reflection. These questions could include, what did I do well today? What could I have done better? How did I respond to challenges? And how could I have responded differently? By repeatedly asking these questions, you gradually develop a keen sense of emotional self-awareness, which is the foundation of emotional intelligence. This introspective process helps you better understand your own reactions and motivations, allowing you to make more conscious choices in the future. Journaling also helps to externalize the internal dialogue that so often clouds our judgment. When we write down our thoughts and feelings, they become less overwhelming. The act of putting pen to paper enables us to confront our emotions with greater objectivity and clarity. As a result, we can observe patterns in our thinking and behavior that we might not have noticed before, leading to greater emotional regulation. If you're new to journaling, start small. Begin with just a few minutes a day, writing freely about your thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Over time, you can begin to incorporate Stoic exercises, such as reflecting on what is within your control or practicing gratitude. The key is to make journaling a consistent practice, as the benefits of this technique compound over time. It helps you build emotional resilience by fostering self-awareness, emotional regulation, and clarity of thought. Now that we've explored how journaling can help improve emotional intelligence, let's shift our focus to another Stoic technique, the practice of virtue and self-control. This principle is central to Stoic philosophy and plays a pivotal role in emotional mastery. Let's delve into how embracing virtue can help us regulate our emotions and lead a more balanced life. Stoic technique number 6, practice of virtue and self-control. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies the practice of virtue, which is central to emotional regulation and self-mastery. The Stoics believed that the key to living a good life was not in pursuing external wealth, power, or pleasure, but in cultivating inner virtues. These virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, are the foundation for mastering one's emotions and achieving true emotional resilience. By embracing these virtues, we can regulate our reactions, build emotional intelligence, and maintain inner peace no matter what life throws our way. Wisdom, the first of the Stoic virtues, allows us to make sound judgments and act with clarity. It's about understanding what truly matters in life and responding to situations in ways that align with our values. When we apply wisdom, we can assess situations with emotional awareness, ensuring that our responses are thoughtful rather than impulsive. In everyday life, this might look like taking a moment to reflect before reacting to something that provokes anger or frustration. Instead of reacting immediately, you pause, consider the bigger picture, and respond with a clear, measured approach. Courage, the second Stoic virtue, is all about overcoming fear and doing what is right, even in the face of adversity. It's about facing challenges head-on, whether they involve external difficulties or the internal battles we fight with our own emotions. When we practice courage, we take control of our emotional state, choosing to rise above fear, anxiety, or self-doubt. For example, if you're faced with a difficult conversation that makes you anxious, practicing courage would mean stepping up to have that conversation, knowing that your emotions are under your control. Justice, the third virtue, teaches us to act fairly and with integrity. This virtue helps us regulate emotions such as anger or resentment, as it encourages us to act in ways that honor our values and respect the rights of others. By practicing justice, we learn to respond with empathy and fairness, rather than giving in to impulses that might lead to regret. Whether in personal relationships or in the workplace, embodying justice means acting in a way that is honorable and fair, which ultimately promotes emotional balance and stability. Lastly, temperance, the fourth virtue, is about self-control and moderation. In the Stoic worldview, emotional mastery is not about suppressing emotions entirely, but about managing them with balance and moderation. Temperance helps us avoid being overwhelmed by our passions, such as anger, jealousy, or greed. It teaches us to respond to life's temptations and challenges with moderation, choosing to act thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. For example, if you're frustrated or angry, practicing temperance might mean taking a step back, breathing deeply, and allowing yourself time to calm down before responding. When you embrace the practice of these virtues, you don't just improve your ability to manage emotion, you also begin to develop emotional intelligence. By practicing wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, you align your actions with your values, which in turn fosters a sense of emotional stability and resilience. These virtues are not just abstract ideals, they are practical tools that can be applied daily to enhance emotional control and build long-term emotional well-being. To integrate these virtues into your life, start by reflecting on how each one plays a role in your daily experiences. When you face a challenging situation, ask yourself, am I responding with wisdom? Am I exercising courage, justice, and temperance? Over time, you'll find that these virtues become second nature, guiding you toward better emotional regulation and stronger emotional resilience. Now that we've explored the importance of virtue and self-control, let's move on to another key Stoic technique, detachment. By practicing detachment, we can further enhance our ability to manage emotions and maintain inner peace, no matter what's happening around us. Let's take a closer look at how detachment works and how it can help us build greater emotional resilience. Stoic technique number 7, the power of detachment. Detachment is a powerful Stoic technique that involves creating a healthy distance between ourselves and the external world, allowing us to maintain emotional control and clarity. In Stoic philosophy, detachment is not about withdrawing from life or becoming indifferent to others. Rather, it's about recognizing that we are not defined by the things outside of us. By practicing detachment, we can navigate life's challenges with greater emotional stability, because we are no longer emotionally tethered to things beyond our control. Imagine a situation where you've invested a great deal of time and energy into a project, only for it to fail unexpectedly. The natural reaction might be frustration, disappointment, or even anger. However, by practicing detachment, you can separate your sense of self-worth from the outcome of the project. Instead of attaching your emotions to the success or failure of external circumstances, you detach from the result and focus on what you can control: your effort, your response, and your growth. This shift allows you to accept the situation without emotional turmoil and to move forward with clarity. Detachment is especially helpful when it comes to managing our expectations. So often, we become emotionally distressed because reality does not align with our desires. We expect things to go a certain way, and when they don't, we react with frustration, anger, or disappointment. The Stoic approach encourages us to let go of rigid expectations and instead focus on accepting things as they are. By doing so, we free ourselves from unnecessary emotional reactions and can approach life with greater equanimity. One practical way to practice detachment is through mindfulness. By cultivating a present-focused mindset, we can learn to observe our thoughts and emotions without becoming attached to them. When a challenging situation arises, Instead of reacting impulsively, take a moment to breathe and observe your emotional response. Ask yourself, am I allowing this situation to define my emotional state? How can I respond from a place of clarity and balance, rather than from attachment to the outcome? This mindfulness practice allows you to detach from the emotional charge of a situation and choose a more measured response. Another aspect of detachment involves recognizing that we are not in control of others' actions or opinions. It's easy to become upset when people criticize us, disappoint us, or behave in ways we don't agree with. But by practicing detachment, we remind ourselves that we cannot control others, only how we react to them. When we let go of the need to control or change others, we release ourselves from unnecessary emotional suffering and free up energy to focus on our own responses and growth. Detachment doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means learning to accept life's ebb and flow with grace. It's about recognizing that external events, whether good or bad, do not define our emotional state. By cultivating detachment, we can live with greater peace of mind, emotional resilience, and clarity. Now that we've explored the importance of detachment, let's look at another key Stoic practice: mindfulness. By embracing mindfulness, we can sharpen our emotional awareness and learn to respond more thoughtfully to life's challenges. Let's explore how living in the present moment can significantly enhance emotional control. Stoic technique number 8: mindfulness and living in the present moment. Mindfulness, as practiced in Stoicism, is all about being fully present in the moment, free from distractions, judgments, and preoccupations with past or future events. It's a way of cultivating emotional awareness and control by tuning into our immediate experience without being overwhelmed by it. The Stoics believed that the key to emotional resilience lies in our ability to stay grounded in the present, rather than being consumed by worry about what has happened or what might happen. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the constant stream of thoughts, worries, and distractions. We often find ourselves thinking about past mistakes, replaying conversations, or worrying about what the future holds. But the Stoics understood that this kind of mental chatter only robs us of peace and clarity. To master our emotions, we must learn to focus on what's happening right here and right now. Imagine being caught in a stressful situation, perhaps a conflict at work or a difficult conversation with a friend. Instead of allowing your mind to race ahead, jumping from one thought to the next, mindfulness teaches us to focus on the present moment. You can observe your breath, feel your body sensations, and notice the thoughts passing through your mind without getting entangled in them. This simple practice of returning to the present helps us detach from the emotional intensity of the moment, giving us the clarity to respond more thoughtfully. The Stoics believed that by practicing mindfulness, we can better understand our emotional reactions and regulate them more effectively. By observing our thoughts and emotions without judgment, we gain insight into what triggers us and how we typically respond. This awareness is the first step toward emotional mastery, as it allows us to choose a response that is aligned with our values, rather than simply reacting impulsively. One way to develop mindfulness in everyday life is to practice mindfulness meditation. Set aside a few minutes each day to sit quietly, focus on your breath, and bring your attention to the present moment. You can also incorporate mindfulness into daily activities, whether you're eating, walking, or having a conversation. The goal is to stay fully engaged with the present experience, without letting your mind wander into worries about the past or future. Mindfulness also encourages us to embrace our emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to observe our feelings without attaching a story or judgment to them. For example, instead of saying, "I'm angry" or "I'm anxious," we simply acknowledge the feeling of anger or anxiety without letting it define us. This allows us to experience emotions without letting them control us, giving us the power to choose how to respond. By practicing mindfulness regularly, we cultivate a deep sense of emotional awareness, which strengthens our emotional intelligence and resilience. We become less reactive to external events and more intentional in how we navigate life's challenges. And as we learn to live in the present moment, we find that we can manage stress more effectively and experience greater peace of mind. Now that we've explored the power of mindfulness in emotional control, let's turn to another Stoic principle that emphasizes self-sufficiency and emotional independence. By cultivating these qualities, we can reduce our reliance on external factors for emotional stability and build lasting resilience. Let's dive into how self-sufficiency and emotional independence can help us master our emotion. Stoic technique number 9, self-sufficiency and emotional independence. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is the cultivation of self-sufficiency, an ability to rely on one's inner resources rather than depending on external circumstances or other people for emotional fulfillment. Stoics believe that true emotional independence comes from understanding that we are the masters of our own emotional state. By cultivating this inner strength, we can maintain emotional balance and clarity, no matter what external challenges or pressures we face. In life, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that our happiness or emotional well-being is dependent on external factors, like a promotion at work, validation from others, or the approval of friends and family. While these things can bring temporary satisfaction, the Stoics understood that they are ultimately beyond our control. If we base our emotional stability on things that we cannot control, we set ourselves up for disappointment and frustration. True emotional independence, therefore, lies in learning to find peace within ourselves, regardless of what happens in the outside world. Take a moment and think about a time when you felt completely at the mercy of external circumstances. Perhaps it was when someone criticized you, or when a project didn't go as planned. In those moments, it's easy to lose yourself emotionally, allowing the external event to dictate how you feel. But by practicing emotional independence, you can learn to detach from these events and focus on your internal response instead. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions, but rather not allowing them to control you. By becoming less dependent on external validation, you free yourself to act with greater clarity and peace of mind. One of the most empowering aspects of emotional independence is the freedom it provides. When you're no longer dependent on others or on external outcomes to feel good about yourself, you gain control over your own emotional responses. This sense of autonomy helps you stay grounded, even in the face of criticism or rejection. Instead of being swept away by the opinions of others, you are able to maintain a strong sense of self-worth, grounded in your own values and beliefs. To practice self-sufficiency, start by focusing on what you can control: your thoughts, your actions, and your emotional responses. When you find yourself looking for validation or approval from others, remind yourself that your worth comes from within, not from external sources. This shift in mindset allows you to take back control of your emotional state and to live more authentically. Another key element of emotional independence is recognizing that we are responsible for our own happiness. While relationships, achievements, and experiences can bring joy, the Stoic approach teaches us that our emotional well-being should not rely on these external factors. Instead, we should cultivate a deep sense of contentment and peace within ourselves, knowing that we have the power to create our own emotional state, regardless of the circumstances around us. By practicing self-sufficiency and emotional independence, we can build greater emotional resilience and mental strength. We learn to navigate life's challenges with greater ease, knowing that our emotional state is not determined by external forces, but by how we choose to respond to them. This Stoic technique empowers us to take control of our emotional lives, creating a foundation for long-term happiness and peace. Now that we've explored the importance of self-sufficiency, let's move on to the final Stoic technique, the view from above, or cosmic perspective. This technique allows us to gain a broader perspective on life's challenges, helping us to detach from the trivialities of daily life and focus on what truly matters. Let's dive into how this perspective can help us manage our emotions and build greater resilience. Stoic technique number 10, the view from above, cosmic perspective. The final Stoic technique we'll explore is one of the most powerful tools for maintaining emotional clarity and resilience, the view from above. This practice involves stepping outside of your immediate experience and taking a broader, more cosmic perspective on life. By viewing our challenges and emotional struggles from a higher vantage point, we gain a sense of detachment from the trivialities of daily life, allowing us to navigate adversity with greater peace and rationality. Imagine, for a moment, that you are an observer of your own life. You are no longer entangled in the small details of your daily struggles, but instead, you are looking at your life as if it were a scene from a great distance. You see not only the events happening in the present, but also the broader context of your entire life, and even the vastness of the world beyond. In this moment, the challenges you face, whether personal, professional, or emotional, begin to feel less significant in the grand scheme of things. The view from above is a technique that helps us detach from the intensity of our emotions by putting them into perspective. It's easy to get caught up in the immediate discomfort of a difficult situation, whether it's a personal conflict, a stressful deadline, or a setback. But by adopting a cosmic perspective, we remind ourselves that these challenges are fleeting. Our lives are part of a much larger picture, and in the grand scheme of things, our struggles are temporary and often insignificant. This perspective helps us reduce the emotional charge of stressful situations, enabling us to approach them with greater calm and objectivity. One way to practice the view from above is to imagine yourself looking at your life from the perspective of an outsider. You could picture yourself as a character in a movie, observing the ups and downs of the plot. When you do this, try to see your current challenges from a detached perspective, recognizing that they are just a small part of your larger life story. This exercise can help you gain the emotional distance needed to navigate difficult situations without being overwhelmed by them. The cosmic perspective also encourages us to consider the interconnectedness of all things. When we zoom out and see our lives in the context of the world, we realize that we are just one small part of a vast and ever-changing universe. This recognition helps us detach from the need for perfection or control. We understand that life is full of unpredictability and change, and our role is not to control every outcome, but to respond wisely to whatever comes our way. When we adopt this perspective, we also begin to recognize the insignificance of many of the things that cause us stress. A tough day at work, a disagreement with a friend, or a missed opportunity can feel monumental in the moment, but when we step back and view them from a higher vantage point, they often appear much smaller. This shift in perspective allows us to let go of unnecessary emotional attachment to events and to approach life with greater emotional resilience. By regularly practicing the view from above, we can cultivate a sense of emotional distance that allows us to manage stress and adversity more effectively. Instead of becoming entangled in every emotional reaction, we learn to see the bigger picture and choose our responses with wisdom and clarity. Now that we've explored the cosmic perspective and its role in emotional resilience, let's pause and reflect on how all these Stoic techniques, control, perspective, acceptance, reframing, self-reflection, virtue, detachment, mindfulness, emotional independence, and cosmic perspective, work together to help us build emotional intelligence and resilience. By incorporating these practices into our daily lives, we can create a solid foundation for lasting peace, clarity, and emotional mastery. Now that you've explored these 10 Stoic techniques, it's time to apply them to your own life. How will you start to implement these practices? Will you take control of what you can and shift your perspective when faced with challenges? Remember, building emotional resilience and mastering your emotions is a journey, and each step you take will bring you closer to inner peace and emotional strength. If this video has helped you in any way, I encourage you to take action today. Start small, whether it's journaling, practicing mindfulness, or simply reflecting on what's within your control. As you continue to practice these Stoic techniques, you'll see your emotional intelligence grow, and your ability to navigate life's challenges will strengthen. Before you go, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future content. Share this video with someone who could benefit from these Stoic principles, and leave a comment sharing which technique you're most excited to try first. Let's continue this journey toward emotional mastery together. See you in the next video.